Hey everybody, welcome to the MD Levrone Report, brought to you by Levrone Supplements and starring IFBB Pro League Hall of Fame bodybuilder, Kevin Levrone. How are you, Kevin?
Yo, I'm doing good, Ron.
Yeah, you've been all over the place. What are some of the countries you've been visiting these past few weeks?
Poland.
Yep.
Germany.
FIBO, yeah.
Yeah, man, at the FIBO.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turkey.
That's a busy passport you have, sir. Very busy passport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, while you're away, I'm sure you heard about Cedric. Terrible loss. 44 years old. Great guy.
Yeah.
Beautiful soul. Great. Amazing. One of the best physiques of all time, in my opinion. I think you might feel the same way. And man, just a real genuine, humble, funny guy. Did you know Cedric at all, Kevin?
Yeah, I spent time with Cedric. Cedric came to compete at the Levrone Pro Classic in Gdansk, Poland, 2015. And we had a chance to spend about a week together.
Wow.
And get to know each other. We talked about family life, talked about the military, talked about the sport,
Yeah.
And then after that, I think we actually spent some time in China together doing a seminar that we had scheduled in China,
Wow.
Shanghai. And we were there for about, I think it was about another week. So, yeah, I spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah. So you know him better than most people, I would say, based on all that. Yeah. What a shock. He had been in the hospital, I think, in December. He had COVID. He ended up with pneumonia. He was in the ICU for a few days. So this didn't come as a total shock to me because I know that had happened. And he was one of the guys I was in the back of my mind worried about. And I worry about right now, I'm worried about like everybody. Anybody that's 250 to 300 pounds, I'm worried. It's we can't get too political with vaccine and COVID and all that. Of course, that has to have it has to be playing some kind of role in all this. It has to. Because guys have been big and guys have been using gear and eating lots of food for many, many, many years. But only last year and this year, really, have we seen this unprecedented rash of premature deaths. Guys under 50, sometimes guys under 40. George Peterson was 37. So, everyone's pointing fingers, and more importantly, everyone wants something to be done about this. So how do we save people? How do we keep bodybuilders alive? How can we make this sport safer for the athletes? Because nothing's worth dying young for, especially, you're leaving wives and children behind in a lot of cases. Nothing's worth that. Certainly not a trophy or prize money or anything like that. But, you've managed to stay very healthy yourself, Kevin, and you're into your 50s. So what wisdom can you impart? What suggestions can you make? What can we do about this?
Ron, I'd have to say that, my heart goes out to every person's life and their family that has been lost. It has been a turning curve since Corona came out. I personally feel as though that this vaccination could play a role in it. Because, again, I strongly believe, and I don't think like anything else, it's the individual, but steroids don't kill. It's what you're doing. Alcohol don't kill. It's what you're doing. It's drugs. It's, how much of that play a role. Now, as far as health of the individual, that is in that individuals' hands, their decisions, who can be held accountable with the decisions that we make in life, only us. These things weren't happening before, and all of a sudden it started happening. Well, what changed? Coronavirus and the vaccinations. I mean, I would have to really, really go back to that part. How safe are these vaccinations? Does it thicken the blood or anything else? What's the underlying health conditions for people who take it, the ones that have passed away? I've had people in my family that died since the COVID came out and died from the COVID. I've had individuals in my family who have also died previously because of heart attacks and everything else. Life is full of choices, Ron, and us as human beings, I think what we can do as far as the IFBB and moving forward is that individual, their life is their responsibility. I have a 14-year-old son. You have kids. How responsible are you for taking every precaution that you can to get checkups and then to listen to the doctor and to follow those doctor's instructions to live tomorrow and today after? Like, my goal in life isn't anything else besides living to see tomorrow. I spend a lot of time at the clinic. I go to Life Med Institute constantly, getting my blood work pulled every 6 months, monitoring myself as much as possibly as I can, knowing that I'm older. And when you do get older, your body just takes on a different chemistry. It's good to get our blood flushed out, to donate blood, these things like this. So as a man, I don't know what we can point the finger to, but we certainly can take the responsibility to say, hey, I'm going to take all precaution I can to live, to see my son get married and, our kids grow up and have grandkids. And how do we do that? Well, it starts with us. Our decisions are, the outcome of our lives, pretty much it's in our control, way outside of just heart attacks. And listen, you don't need to be a bodybuilder to have a heart attack. You don't need to take, anything that has to do with our sport to have a heart attack. I have many people in my family that died from heart attacks, aunts and uncles and close people. So, to point something out and say, oh, it's because they're a bodybuilder or they've taken steroids, this is related to them dying. I would have to say, nope. I've taken it. So many other bodybuilders taken it previously in our past. We're still here. And we haven't had heart attacks. It's just underlying health issues that probably has a tendency to play with whatever medication and so on and so forth that we decide to put into our bodies. The only thing that we can do, again, be responsible, make sure you have health insurance, take physicals, take it a little deeper than the physical, get your blood work done on a regular basis. If you don't want to do it in 6 months, do it every 3 months. Eat healthy and really, really try to live a lifestyle that is you're taking all precautions you can to be here. It's not normal that someone has a heart attack and die on a regular basis like we've been having here in our sport. And I wouldn't certainly say that that has to do with steroids. I have to say it has a mixture of things going on there that we need to take a look at, health-wise.
Using you as an example again, some things that you did that I think worked out in your favor for the long term as far as your health and your longevity. And the reason you're still here talking to me right now as a healthy man, you took time off the drugs. You weren't on drugs year round. With the exception of the one time Dave Palumbo prepped you, your cycles were very, very mild compared to what a lot of guys are doing that I see and talk to. And you didn't carry, you did downsize for parts of the year. You didn't carry all that mass all the time. And I think these are things that are enhancing the risk factors for a lot of guys is they never come off. They'll blast on like 2 to 5 grams of gear and they'll cruise on like 500 milligrams of test plus GH. They'll stay, they'll compete at like 250 and they'll be 300 pounds most of the year. And it's then you figure everyone now has either had the virus, they've either had COVID or they're vaccinated. I don't think there's too many people that can say neither of those, describe them. And we've already seen otherwise healthy people, not bodybuilders, having heart issues from the vaccine and from COVID. So it's like a perfect storm. I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to this unless, you follow Cali Muscle at all? You know who he is?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Cali put out a video a couple days ago calling for an end to bodybuilding. Legitimately. He's like, we need to stop bodybuilding. We can't have bodybuilding anymore.
The bodybuilding's not the reason why. It's an individual, Ron. People need to stop saying, a bodybuilder is come on. It's not the sport that's killing people. Again, it's not the alcohol that's setting there. It's not the drugs that's setting there.
Yeah. It's
you making that choice to put something in your body. People need to stop being so weak-minded and realize that, there's a price to pay. Every action has a reaction. So, to say, oh, it's bodybuilding, it's not bodybuilding. So you take bodybuilding away, then what? Was it going to stop people from doing whatever they want to do to themselves? It's not bodybuilding. In fact, bodybuilding competing nowadays is a lot easier than when we were coming up because the competition is a lot less, So there's no pigeonhole, stronghold to a contract to a bodybuilder that says, well, he's got to do this or else he's going to lose his contract. So I wouldn't even say that's not even the top. That doesn't play into it. It's the individual that makes that decision to do something to themselves without the proper medical guidance, point blank, period. And you are a product of your decisions. You talk about, I'm here and everything. Yeah, because I've only did what I had to do for maybe 4 months out of a year. And I made the proper decisions and I went and got proper professional guidance through all of that, even though everybody was saying, well, if you had it trained all year round, it would have been missing on people. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
So choice. As a man, we have to make choices. As men, we have to know the risk that we're taking, not to point the finger at a title or anything else. But we need to know when we jumping into it, like I knew that when I jumped into this sport, I knew the risk that I would be taking if I put a substance in my body that I wasn't born with. I knew that risk. So that was my choice, how I was going to do it, how long I was going to do it, and what I was going to take. I took my own life in my own hands. And you have to be smart when you do that. You better make sure that you are guided down the right road. If not, it's going to be a disaster, a cocktail waiting to explode. And so it's not bodybuilding, it's the individual, and we see people overdose all the time, you're going to take the music out of what? Out of Michael Jackson. You're going to take, the music out of Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Prince and everybody else. So they shouldn't be musicians. No, it's not it. It's not what killed them. It's a lifestyle, and you choose how you want to live your life within that lifestyle. It's your choice.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Kevin. We talk about blood work and that's great, but heart, getting the heart looked at on a regular basis is as important, if not more important, because it's the heart. It's heart attacks that are killing almost everybody that's dying. So, get your calcium score done, get an ultrasound done, maybe a CAT scan. It's not enough to look at the blood work because that doesn't tell you about your heart. But we've seen guys who have had heart issues and they know it, and they keep on taking the high doses of drugs. They keep on maintaining all that mass, and some of these people have died already. It's if at any point in your bodybuilding career, Kevin, if you had gone to the doctor and they said, your heart doesn't look good, you have all this calcium in your arteries, you better stop doing what you're doing, or else you could have a heart attack in a couple of years or a year or two. Would you have stopped or would you have kept going? Of
course I would have stopped, Ron. Anybody in their right mind would say, you know what? My health is more important. My family is more important. My son is more important than a title. Anybody with common sense of thinking, or that has any kind of passion for life would make the right decision to decide life is the most important thing for them.
Hmm.
You know, people you couldn't pay me or give me a title or anything to sacrifice my life for tomorrow, the next day, or anything after that, you know? So again, there's a lot of weak-minded guys out here, man. A lot of guys who can't handle losing weight and can't handle walking around, you know, 225 or 215 or even 190 where they need to be, which is the health, you know, where they should be. But so it's a mental sickness that a lot of people accumulate from our sport, men and women as well, you know, walking around with this alter ego that size matters. Well, size doesn't matter. Health matters, you know, and they can't seem to shake it. And the ultimate penalty is it ends up being a Molotov cocktail, you know, for disaster and death, you know.
Yeah. Do you think it's because people, I think most people have this attitude or this belief that it can't happen to me. This guy had a heart attack, but I'm me. I can't have a heart attack. I can't die.
If anything, they should see what's happening and they should learn from this, that, wow, it could be me. You could be that next victim, you know, any moment, any time. So unless you are up on top of your medical exams, you are up on top of your calcium scores, you're up on top of all of these things, you're taking a risk. If you're putting anything in your body and you're going 6 months, a year, 2 and 3 years without being monitored, you're taking your life in your own hands. You know, and at that point, you know, we are where we are because of the decisions that we make. You know, what happens to us is because of the decisions that we made in the past. And I strongly believe in that. We need to, at some point, take responsibility, but a lot of guys aren't responsible. You know, they want to point the finger and say, it's the IFBB, or, you know, oh, it's my trainer. No, it's you, because you've made those choices and decisions to do something to yourself. You know, there isn't any trainer that I know of that's held responsible or got prosecuted because an athlete died.
Right.
You know, they're the ones that is administering the drugs into their bodies. They're the ones that is making all of those decisions and doing it, you know. You know, the whole Michael Jackson case, you know, the reason why Conrad went to prison is because they could actually prove that he ministered to Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no trainer out here, or the IFBB isn't administering anything to anybody.
Right.
They're doing it themselves.
Yeah.
So let's stop with saying do away with bodybuilding. No, it's be a grown-ass man, be responsible, go to the doctors, and realize what you're getting yourself into. Point blank, period. You know, you're responsible for your own life, just like you're responsible for paying your bills and supporting your household. It's the same thing. You know, bodybuilding has been great. It's paid off for me. It's a beautiful sport. You know, it never was happening in the past. And the only reason why it's happening now is because guys are doing it to themselves. Point blank, period. Probably with underlying health issues that they don't know about because they have not been up on top of taking care of themselves. Yeah. Point blank, period. It's not the sport.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate, because a lot of people are making a lot of social media posts blaming the organization, the judges, but, you know, they just judge what's in front of them. I've never heard of one case where a judge said, listen, you got to take all these drugs. No, that doesn't happen.
Hey, Ron, it's the same judging panel that was judging me.
Yeah, you're right.
So why am I sitting here, right? I mean, it's the same one that was judging Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, Sean, all of us.
Yeah.
Come on.
Steve Weinberger's been around a very long time.
Steve, everybody, it's ludicrous. What those judges do is just judge what they see sitting in front of them.
Right.
If anything, they give you advice. Hey, you got to get a little more leaner. You know, you got to cut back. Come on. It's not the sport.
Yeah.
You know, it's the individuals who are out here putting together these Molotov cocktails and experimenting and doing this, thinking the shortcut is going to get them to where they need to be Mr. Olympia, when it's not. They need to be in the gym. They need to be training 3 or 4 hours a day like we used to do. They need to be eating healthy, and they need to be monitoring themselves and getting enough proper sleep and rest and not overdoing it.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut.
It's you guys of your era, I'd say my era, but you were actually a top Olympia competitor. You got a lot of heat because you'd said back in your day, drugs were not, you weren't obsessed with drugs. You weren't thinking all day and night about what next drugs I should get, how much more drugs I should take. They really were like a finishing touch. They were used, but they weren't like the main focal point of your prep or of your training or anything. Whereas I talk to guys all the time. That's all they want to talk about is drugs.
Yeah. And it's not the main course. It's not the main course. Listen, if you take steroids out of bodybuilding, the genetic freak still will rise to the top.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. I didn't get my motivation from a steroid bottle. I didn't get my drive from a testosterone bottle. And I damn sure didn't get who I was and my genes and my genetics from a testosterone bottle. It's something you have with or without that. These guys go out here and they create the problems for themselves, point blank, period, by making stupid ass decisions and choices. That's just the way it is, and unfortunately it ends up in disaster for some of them.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I want to say about that is I know so many guys who do not have spectacular genetics, and they are convinced in their hearts that they can make up the difference between themselves and the genetic superiors by just taking more and more drugs. So, and I don't see it ending well for any of these people. I think these are the ones that are at the highest risk, because they're willing to do way more than is necessary, way more than somebody with great genetics would even think about doing, because they never had to, and they never would have that in their mind. Like, I got to use 3 times more drugs than the next guy to beat this guy. So that's who I see at the greatest risk, all the way from the local level up to the pro level, is people thinking they can close the gap between themselves and the people with the great genetics. The people, Lee Haney talks about the genetic blueprint, the people who have this genetic blueprint to be great bodybuilders. It can't, drugs are never going to, they don't change your genetics. You become a bigger version of what you already are. And if you have all these, structural flaws and things like that, they're still going to be there. You're just going to be a 40, 50, 60 pound heavier version of that same physique.
Exactly.
But now your internal organs they're jacked up. You're in trouble. So,
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what Lee Haney is saying. People don't realize, to be a great champion at that elite level in our sport, you have to be a great decision maker about life. And if you're not a great decision maker about life off that stage, you're not going to be a great decision maker on that stage, and you're not going to be an elite top athlete. And that is which Joe Weider handpicked and taught us the ropes about living life off that stage and what we represent. And that's a true champion of what a Mr. Olympia is, what an elite top national champion is, what Jim Mannion created, and what the top IFBB Pro stands for. It's not a trial and error. It's not, let's see what works. It is, no, you are fine-tuned in your personality, you're fine-tuned in your decision-making, you're fine-tuned in your health, and you're fine-tuned in your presentation, and you're in this sport everlasting. It's called an International IFBB Pro, an NPC champion. People forget who the national champions were at that top level and how long their careers lasted. This is not a fly-by-night situation. So when people sit on the sidelines and say it's the sport, no, the sport created great champions. It created the history of champions. So that legacy lives on through that top athlete that's been handpicked to make the right choices. And that's the elite of the top of the IFBB that we're not seeing today.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thoughts and prayers to Cedric's family, to to all the families of those we've lost. And I wish we could say that'll be the last one, but I'm like, every morning I wake up and I look at my phone. I'm like waiting for who's going to be next. It's an awful feeling, but I just hope I hope this is a wake up call for a lot of guys out there, guys, girls. Take better care of yourself. Get to your doctor and get all the testing done. And, if you do have an underlying issue, if you find out there's something wrong already, cut your losses. That's God saying, I'm giving you a second chance. Are you going to take it, or are you going to be an idiot and keep going? Because, this is one life. You get one life. We're not cats with 9 lives. That's it. You're gone. You're gone. So anyway, thank you, Kevin, for taking the time and doing this. It's a very important topic. And I hope we don't have to talk about this again in the near future.
Yeah. Thank you, Ron.
All right.
Thanks for bringing it up. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please follow the channel, subscribe to the channel, do all that good stuff. We appreciate it. Like and share and all that. And we'll see you right here next time on the MD Levrone Report.